Hello guys, and welcome to this video where we'll be going over 1.2, which is all about expanding brackets. So let's go. Okay, so in expanding brackets we will have some type of equation like this where we have x plus 5 all in brackets, and that is being timed by x plus 3 all in brackets. So how do we solve this question? Well, we just need to multiply each bracket out and all the values within those brackets. So if I just show you, first things first, we want to do x times x. Okay, it'll be this x times this x, which will give us x squared. Okay, then we will do this x times the 3. That will give us positive 3x. And then we want to do this 5 times x, and that will give us 5x. And then lastly, we want to do the 5 times the 3, and that will give us positive 15. Okay, and then if we just simplify that, then we'll have x squared. 3x plus 5x is 8x, and then just left with the 15. So we're left with x squared plus 8x plus 15. So for our next example, let's say we have this question here. We have x minus 2y times by x squared plus 1. So the same principle applies here. We're going to start off, we're going to multiply this x by the x squared. So that will give us x to the power 3, x cubed. And then we're going to do x times 1. X times 1 is simply just going to be x. Okay, then we're going to do this minus 2y times by x squared. So that'll give us a minus 2x squared y. We can't do anything with that, so we just put everything together. And then lastly, we have this minus 2y times 1, which will just give us a minus 2y. Okay, and for this question, can we simplify down? We cannot simplify down, so therefore it will just stay as x cubed plus x minus 2x squared y minus 2y. Okay, we'll just leave it like that. Okay. So now we have x plus y times by 3x minus 2y minus 4. So for this question, we have an extra number now in the bracket, but it's still the same way. So if we're going to start off with the x, okay, we're going to try and we're going to times all the other values by x in the other bracket. So if we do that, we get x times 3x, which gives us a 3x squared. We have x times minus 2y, which gives us a minus 2xy. Okay, we can't do anything with that, so we just put them together. And then we also have an x times a minus 4, which will give us a minus 4x. Okay, now we do the same thing. We do a y minus 3x. So a y times a 3x is positive 3xy. And then we also have the y times a minus 2y, which is minus 2y squared. And then we also have that same y, and that is times by minus 4. So that will give us a minus 4y. Okay? And then we just need to simplify this down. So we look at the x squared. We have no other x squared, so we're just left with 3x squared here. We have a minus 2xy plus a 3xy, so that will be just xy. We have a 4x, there are no other 4x's, so that'll just be a minus 4x. And then we have a minus 2y squared, and then we also have a 4y. Okay, and that will be the answer, all simplified down. Okay, so now we have this question. We have x minus 4 times by x plus 3 times by x plus 1. So now we have 3 separate brackets, and we need to multiply them all together. So for this question, what I would advise you to do is just look at 2 brackets, multiply all those 2 brackets fully, and then once you do that, then multiply it by the 3rd bracket. So we're going to start off by just looking at x minus 4 and x plus 3. So if we do that, okay, we would get x squared. We would get an x times a 3. That would be a 3x. We'd get a minus 4 times an x, which is minus 4x. And we would get a minus 4 times a 3, which is a minus 12. Okay, and that is all still times by x plus 1. And then we should simplify this down. We'll have x squared. That is 3 minus a 4. That will give us a minus x. And then we're just left that minus 12. Okay. So now that we've expanded the brackets out on the x minus 4 and x plus 3, and we've simplified down, now we can now use that bracket to now work out the rest of it. Okay, so now we can times everything by that x plus 1. So if we do that, now we're going to get a x squared. So if I use my colors again, we'll do an x squared times an x, which will be x to the power 3. And then we'll get an x squared times 1, which is just x squared. We will get a minus x times an x. So a minus x times an x is a minus x squared. And then we also get a minus x times a 1. A minus x times 1 is just a minus x. And then we're going to have a minus 12 times x, which is a minus 12x, and a minus 12 times 1, which is a minus 12, okay? And now we just need to simplify everything down. So if we do that, we'll be left with x cubed here. We have a positive x squared and then a minus x squared, so that cancels each other out. We have a minus x minus a 12x, so that will be a minus 13x, and then we'll be left with that minus 12 at the end. So we'll be left with x cubed minus 13x minus 12. Okay, let's look at this question. So you may get a question like this, where it's something like you have a bracket and it'll be getting squared. So if you see something like that, fairly simple. In this case, we have 3x plus 2y all squared. Fairly simple what you do. If you have something like this, all that means is it's going to be 3x plus 2y times by 3x plus 2y. And then we just treat it exactly the same as we've done for all the other questions. So for this question, if we work this out, we'll do 3x times 3x. 3x times 3x is a 9x squared. Then we have 3x times 2y, which will give us a 6xy. We have another 3x times 2y, so that'll give us another 6xy. And then we'll have 2y times 2y, which will give us a 4y squared. And if we simplify this down, we'll be left with 9x squared, 6xy plus 6xy. That'll give us a 12xy. And then we just need to plus the 4y squared. Okay, so for this question, this is an exam style question. We have 2x plus 5y times 3x minus y times 2x plus y. And that equals ax cubed plus bx squared y plus cxy squared plus dy cubed. And we need to figure out the values of the constants a, b, c, d. So to do this question, what I'd advise you to do is, again, like one of our previous questions, just expand two of the brackets first, simplify it down, and once you do that, then times by the third bracket. And that is what we are going to do. So let's start off with the 2x plus 5y times the 3x minus y. So if we do that, we will get 2x times 3x. That will give us a 6x squared. 2x minus y is a minus 2xy. 5y times by 3x is a plus 15xy. And a 5y times a minus y is a minus 5y squared. And that is all being times by 2x plus y. So if we simplify this down, we would get a 6x squared, a minus 2 plus 15, that will give us a positive 13xy minus a 5y squared, and that is all being times by 2x plus y. So now if we expand this out, okay, then we will get a, let's look at the 6x squared times a 2x. So that will be a 12x cubed. Then we get 6x squared times y. That is a 6x squared y. Then we have a 13xy times a 2x. So that will be a 26x squared y. And then we have a 13xy times a y. So that will be a 13xy squared. And then we have a 5y squared times a 2x. So that will be a minus 10xy squared. And then lastly, we have a minus 5y squared times a y, which will be a minus 5y cubed. Okay? And now we can simplify this all down. So the x cubed, there's no other x cubed, so we stick with the 12x cubed. Okay, we have a 26x squared y plus a 26x squared y. So that will be a positive 32x squared y. We have a 13xy squared minus a 10xy squared. So that is a positive 3xy squared. And then we are just left with that 5y squared as well. If we go back to the question, we have an ax cubed plus b x squared y plus c xy squared plus dy cubed. So if we look at our values resemble this. We can just, it's very easy now to work out what it is. A would then just be 12. B would be 32. C would be, oh, let me do that. Let me do a better C than that. C would be 3. And then lastly, D would be a minus 5. Okay? And that is where we will end this video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, next lesson, we'll be going over 1.3, which is all about factorizing. So right now, we've been learning about expanding the brackets out, what that entails. Now we'll be doing the opposite of that, which will be factorizing. We'll do that in our next video. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon.